You're right. Today we'll talk about a chapter called on data and business intelligence. This chapter is actually on database. Okay, we'll talk about what database working is because we already have 2 lessons learned in database. Okay, and then we also talk about the trend of it. If you take a look at this chapter outline, now this chapter probably will be the chapter that you will see in examination in December. 今日睇呢課咧就係 database 啦，咁咧佢咧就主要就係講下我哋喺 Access 度做完嗰啲嘢咧，咁究竟佢個原理係點嘅咧？即係我今次咧想討論下，因為我哋可能喺個 lab 度做完之後都唔係好清楚自己做緊啲乜嘢事幹嘅。所以呢課咧主要係想講清楚呢件事。咁呢一課咧就測驗就唔使考啦，測驗你都知個範圍178啊嘛。咁去到考試咧就會佢係會即係會考得多啲嘅呢啲係，即係考試，即係喺測驗之後嗰啲都會喺考試會考得多啲。咁呢個其中一課。Alright, so let's go on. If you take a look at the learning outcome here, you're going to see that we have a large part of it here up to here. We talk about database basic. What is database? How to make one, and how to get one implemented. All those things. All right. After you learn the first part here, we then talk about the trend of database. Now we always heard of a term in business world called big data, right? Big data analytics, things like that, right? This is actually related to database. And it's very much related to data warehouse as well, right? So we talk about this too, because this is actually the foundation for the big data we're gonna see today. I don't know whether we have time for the video today or not, but if this lesson cannot cover all that far, all right, maybe next lesson then we'll have some time to take a look at the big data analysis. All right, that's why the big data things actually will come up, right, as the major conclusion for this chapter. And that big data thing actually is also one of the very fundamental backup of smart computing or AI, artificial intelligence, that we see right now in the world. No matter what industry you're in, we all get affected by it, actually. Now, what is a database? Database, when we are in the lab, I cannot spend too much time talking about the theory. Now I have more time and then I can tell you database actually is a collection of data in a related manner. So the most important thing for database is related. Now the data we put in the database are all related. They are not something isolated or itemized, no. They are all related in such a way that it would enable something that we store in the database is guaranteed to take it back, right? Guaranteed to take something back is what database really focusing on. The database 最緊要嘅咧就係佢係一堆咧資料，嗰啲資料咧係完全係有連結關係嘅。咁我哋啱啱第2課做 database 嗰啲 relationship 就係講緊呢啲咁嘅連結關係。呢啲嘢咧係保證你儲喺個 database 入邊啲嘢咧係攞得翻。因為如果你儲喺個 database 入邊嘅嘢攞唔翻咧，就即係好似跌咗落黑洞咁樣啦。咁係非常之大鑊嘅事嘅，對於 business 嚟講。所以佢哋唔想發生呢件事。And this is the reason why to get your data prepared for the database, even though it is a very tedious, it is a very troublesome, all right, is a very time-consuming process, people still are willing to pay those efforts, all right? Because once we be able to set up a database, we enjoy a much better, all right, more benefit than we don't have it, right? That's something we have to know. And it's always in the database, we group that as a files. And those files are related records, as we say. The key point here is always linked together. It's integrated. The word integrated means they had common columns all the way through, just like something that we learned on Monday. 我哋話佢 integrated 咧就係即係佢啲 table 咧唔知有時好多 common column 黐住對方嘅 ，OK？ And that's why they linked. When they link, you also know that you are not quite welcome to delete something in it quite easily because they are linked together. You have to know the linkage before you can delete something. Right. And in database here, they always have hierarchy. All right, hierarchy. Hierarchy is the word hierarchy is an old word in English. It actually means level. Well, how data is stored in such a way that you can always guarantee to take it back. It's only that you store them in structures, in a level manner, then you'll be able to take it back easily and with certainty. 咁究竟點樣先可以將啲資料儲低又保證攞得翻呢？就係你儲低嗰個過程入邊咧有啲架構啊，即係有一層層有個架構喺度，咁你就可以透過架構咧攞翻你啲嘢啦。我哋就叫嗰個字咧做 hierarchy， 一個好舊嘅英文字嚟嘅。OK， 咁個架構係點嘅咧 ？If you already work on access, so I can kind of refer to access and explain to you. When you first make use of access, what do you have to do? Can you recall in lesson 1? 當你咧要去整一隻 access 嚟用嗰陣時咧，你喺第一堂第一件事做咩㗎？有冇人記得？網上有冇人記得？唔係淨係掛機喎，問下佢先。我多數都唔睬我嘅。第一堂啊，問你啊，有冇人睬啊？都係咁，好似斷線咁，唔好理佢啦。OK， 咁我哋第一時間喺第一堂叫你做咩㗎？揾個位咩啊 ？ACCDB 係咩嚟㗎？你死咯喎！我哋第 week 13咧，仲有個 open book test on access 同埋 Excel 唔係呃嚟嘅，嗰個一定要做喎。雖然得16% 啊 ，ACCDB can you remember 個 file 嘛？記唔記得啊？我大佬，你唔好咁快俾翻我住啊！雖然呢科個肥嘅機會率咧係2%，但係好低分咧都會好容易啊，所以咧你要讀下書啊，真係。同埋要記翻自己做過啲乜嘢。嗱，整咗個 file 先啊嘛，所以第一層嘅一個 file level 係咪啊？如果你唔記得咧，你自己寫翻低啦。嗱，呢個佢一層層啦嚇。And the second level it has is called table. Remember tables. 第二層咧就叫 table， 係咪啊？你諗下，你做過㗎啦。係啊，咁你而家要開始咧察覺一下自己做過嘅嘢咧，你係要知道做緊啲乜嘢嘅啊？呢個係成長嘅一個好重要嘅階段嚟噶嘛。第二 level I use 2 ticks for that。咁整完啲 table 之後咧，跟住就整咩㗎？跟住咧係整 columns 嘅其實。咁所以 table 同 columns 成日都一齊嘅 ，table 跟住有 columns，column 我哋叫 fields 嘅，係咪啊 ？Right, we have fields, right？ 所以 fields 咧其實第三層嚟嘅 ，OK？ 因為佢首先就叫你撳 design table 嘛。Can you remember in the lab you make a database ACCDB and then you click table design. Table design when you click it, you actually create a table, just that you haven't named it yet, right? And then you'll be showing an area with field and data type and field properties. Remember that? That's setting up the columns, right? And that's why we put it that way. It's the file, it's the tables. Once you set up the tables, you set up the fields. Once you set up the field, what did you do? 整好晒呢啲，跟住你做咩㗎 ？Exercise 2第一堂記啦。呢個動作做咩？放啲嘢入去嘛。我要去學演戲先得。我啲身體語言唔能夠讓你明白。That's too bad. Oh, sorry. 哎呀，好似 here record 啊，放啲 record 入去嘛，咁就成件事做晒啦，係咪啊？所以佢有4個 level。File is the bigger unit From the bigger unit, you have a smaller unit table. A smaller unit table, you have a field that's a smaller unit, and then smaller unit, and then you go for a record that's the smallest unit. 咁嗰啲咧，一層層嗰啲嘢咧，嗰個單位一嚿嚿縮細嘅喎嚇，咁呢啲咪叫 hierarchy 咯，係咪啊？咁你喺 managing organisation 都有啲 hierarchy 㗎。前線嘅同事、中層嘅同事、高層嘅同事唔會好多㗎嘛，得個幾個，可能一個兩個啫嘛。中間一大餐supervisor， 下面好大班前線嘅同事，呢個做嗰樣，嗰個做呢樣㗎嘛。譬如麥當勞呢個負責洗廁所，嗰個負責收錢，呢個負責抹台 ，right？ 精細啲咁咪一層層咯。咁呢一 base 都係呢個一層層咧，其實咧就係保證佢咧係可以攞得翻啲嘢出嚟咯。So remember this structure. This is the structure. Now, you understand that, then this page you understand perfectly. This is an example of database. You know this is a table, right? This table have columns, and they have how many columns? 3 columns there, right? The first column is the social security. The second column is the name. The third column is the address, right? And each row is the record that they put there, basically. 咁所以咧呢版咧，你睇唔睇都得㗎啦呢版因為呢版其實同 Access 嗰個一樣嘅，只不過咧呢個 hierarchy 咧你唔記得，做一個咧你就記得啦，佢由大至細嘅。咁我用咁嘅箭嘴啦，即係大至細咁樣嘅意思 ，right? From big to small, right? Put it like that. Now, why do we talk about database? If you can still remember in Chapter 1. Now, Chapter 1 is something that you're going to be facing in your test very soon, right? Chapter 1 there, we mentioned that the component of information system consists of data, process, information, and database. Remember that? And that time we say database is the heart of information system. Remember that? Right? And that's why today we talk about this here. This is a critical component. It's the heart. So, in other words, if you say you want an information system and if you do not have a database, this is gonna be not possible at all. 所以咧，你講有資訊系統，但係你又話冇 database 係冇可能發生嘅事嚟嘅。Now, how can database appear in information system? It's only that you buy a software called database management system. Database management system, can you do that? 咁究竟點樣先可以用一隻嘅資料庫咧？咁你要買一個叫資料庫管理軟件，呢個係統稱嚟㗎叫 DBMS， 喺第一課都見過呢個字嘅。咁你都開始咧要認識一啲嘢叫統稱。咩叫統稱咧？有啲人好唔知喎。即係譬如咧，你要跑步咧，你要買對跑步鞋啦，跑步鞋就統稱。OK， 咁你去買李寧啊、Nike 呢啲係咩？呢啲係牌子。The same for computing fields, alright? If you want to store something down, you need a category of software called DBMS. Okay? You may be using Access, you may not be using Access at all, you may be using IBM DB2, Oracle, alright, Science-based, whatever names you have. They are all brand. 即係好似 database 咁咧，你係咪一定你 database 係咪一定要用 Access 㗎？唔係㗎 ，database 係一個牌子嚟嘅，好似李寧啊、Nike 啊嗰啲嚟嘅。OK， 嗰跑步鞋嘅其中一種咁樣，咁你可以唔用佢嘅你可以唔用 Access， 咁你可能用 IBM 嘅 DB2， 用 Oracle， 用 Science-based 呢啲都係啲 DBMS 嘅名。No matter what databases you're using, if they are called DBMS, they would always do something like that, creating, storing, maintaining, accessing data files. 咁咧，好似跑步鞋咁啦，你買咩牌子都好啦。如果佢係跑步鞋，個底應該係有啲齒、有啲鋸齒咁樣幫你跑步嘛，咁佢嘅特徵嚟嘛。咁 database 軟件都係一樣，你就算唔用 Access 都好，你用其他都好啦，佢一定會有個地方俾你入資料，一個地方整 data file、整 table 係咪啊？咁即係 create storing 啦。點樣maintain 佢？點樣做 relationship？ 佢哋全部都有㗎，只不過可能個做法每一個軟件有啲唔同，但係都係做緊嗰一樣嘢。OK， 呢句話俾你聽件事。咁呢件嘢咧就令到咧成個資訊系統咧又有速度。Efficiency, remember, is about speed. Effectiveness is about quantity. 咁而家希望咧你讀到今日呢刻咧，你就要識得兩個字嘅，一個字咧就叫 efficiency。efficiency 中文譯做效率 ，effectiveness 中文譯做效能。效率就講緊速度， 時間少啲就好啲，就叫效率。效能就講緊數量 quantity， 多啲越多越好 ，OK。咁個 business 咧好貪心嘅，又要多又要快 ，right？ That's why they always say, we want to have effectiveness and efficiency, and we combine them together. We say this is the competitive advantage. Remember that? Also, that's something we talk about in chapter 1。係咪喺商科嘅世界入邊咧？佢話有效率又有效能咧，你就係有競爭優勢啦，就係咁解。Now, in the old day, we don't use database at all. We use flat files. Are you using flat files at home? Most of the time you are. Okay, you have an assignment to work on, maybe the group project. You use a file to do it. Well, that's the flat file. The file that you work on the group project is not linked to another file. All right. So this kind of thing is a very poor way actually to manage data. If you have a lot of data and a lot of files to manage, that would not be a good idea. So flat files is something that we have in the past because there is no structure. It wasn't arranged in hierarchy. That means there is no structure. 嗱，你喺屋企都有用檔案㗎嚇，你做功課咪整個檔案做 group project， 呢個檔案做呢科，嗰個檔案做嗰科，但係每一科都散收收啊。你變咗咧有啲時間咧，如果咧你想聯繫呢個同學嗰個原來有關係咧，你都如果唔記得咧，咁就真係完全唔知嗰個係咩嚟㗎啦。所以冇結構嘅嘢咧係好容易唔記得嘅 ，database 就會少啲呢啲情況。呢個係以前 flat file， 以前啲人儲嘢都係咁嘅啫，即係冇用 database 嘅時間就係咁啊 flat file 啦 ，flat file 就係冇用 database 嘅時間。咁呢個時間會有咩咧？可能咧你做咗某啲嘢之後咧，你要重做一次啊。In database 咧 ，if you done something because the tables normally link to one another, it will remind you that you have that one already. You don't have to redo it. But if you are using a file, you have every time you start something, you make a new file. You're going to find out you have a lot of redundancy, and that would be wasting your storage and your time to find them out later. And that's why it's not good for data management. 咁你自己做好多 file 都係啊，你儲埋一大堆咧，原來做 project 咧，你一時就記得做咗一啲，跟住咧唔記得咗個檔案喺邊，又整到個新嘅，咁你咪整好多個就重做翻以前啲嘢。咁 database 就唔會㗎，你做過啲嘢咧，佢有個記錄咧連住晒喺度咧，你會知道嘅。所以呢啲咁嘅 flat file 咧就唔用啦而家。因為佢嘥位啦，又重複啦，又冇結構啦，仲會點啊？嘥位啦，仲會咧令到咧啲唔知邊個係最 update 喎 ？You don't know which one is the newest. That's a problem. And then next time you get a file again, and that file may be an old one, and you have to redo something that you did earlier, and that would be wasting your time, right? And that's why flat files no longer used today. While rather people turn to a database because it can. A certain things better than files that it can have. It can allow you with more complex requests. That's the first reason. All right. It can reduce the storage and reduce data redundancy. Those are the three things that database is better than files. Database 咧就有三樣嘢咧好過檔案處理嘅，就係第一件事咧佢可以處理呢個複雜嘅詢問 ，files 就處理唔到，因為佢都散晒啦。第二件事咧就係。佢咧係會佢基本上嘅，如果設計得好咧，冇乜重複性嘅，咁啊啲資料咧就唔會咧，就係做過又要再做一次。第三咧佢有慳位啦，不過慳位對於呢個世界嘅人嚟講，而家其實唔係好 care 嘅，因為啲嘢乜嘢都大到幾擊啊，咁你根本唔 care 個 space。不過咧有啲嘢咧佢係多咗喎，你係 file processing 冇喎。Flat file 冇嘅。Something that it has done is more. This is new. The new thing is you can have more information from the same data. Because you can combine data very easily using database. But for file, it's not easy. So, by means of database usage, you can combine more things out, right? And analyze something deeper, right? That's the start of the journey of analysis. Analysis is to learn something deeper, right? And clearer, and that's why we say analysis. And also, you can stop someone from seeing the file or the record that you don't want them to see, right? Arranging with the different authority and organizations to protect the data from releasing to not the correct person. That's the purpose of security setup. 喺間公司入邊咧。我哋成日都會 set 啲保安嘅，因為每個職級嘅人咧都有佢自己嘅權限嘅。 佢唔會睇得到多過佢自己即刻嘅嘢。呢個就係 security measure。呢件事好緊要嘅噃，因為喺第一課我哋講過 information 咧，其中一個咧 quality 係咩？第一個 quality 就係 timeliness 啦。第二個有冇人記得啊 ？Understanding of data information。OK， 第三個係咩咧？當你問佢咧，佢就唔睬，唔問佢係傾偈，指佢。第三個係咩啊？唔記得咗，記住咯喎。第三個係 relevant。relevant 係咩啊？即係佢要5樣嘢先做到嗰個工作，你就俾5樣嘢佢去做。你俾6樣嘢咧，佢就會咧就做唔到，就會亂噶咯喎。但係你俾4樣嘢咧，佢就會紮馬唔做噶咯喎。即係你下面個同事。所以你要俾到佢啱啱好齊輯，佢嗰件工作要5樣嘢咧，你就俾5樣嘢佢。Setting security is actually helping information to be much more relevant. The word we use in chapter 1 is relevant. Relevant means related to the task. Related to the task means no more, no less than something that helps him or her to do something. Alright? 即係你唔好俾多或者俾少嘢人哋，啱啱好，咁啊最好。咁然後我哋先至講 accuracy and consistency 噶嘛。喂，溫書下呢個啦，呢個新嘅嗱，不過呢個咧就有啲問題嘅。Easier to manage relationships among data。用 database 咧最唔好嘅可能係呢個嚇，呢個佢叫做好處咧，其實唔係好處嚟嘅，因為咧你自己玩咗2堂 Access， 你都知嚿嘢唔係好容易用嘅，你正常人都唔會走去掂佢嘅。如果我哋唔係話要教你，你都唔會睇，係咪？所以呢嚿嘢係要學嘅，係要有人睇住嘅，係有一定程度嘅技術性嘅。It has some technical requirement here. So if you use database, it's actually not very easy to manage relationship inside. You have to have a very clear mind. You have to be trained before you can do it. All right, that's true. So this one is not very relevant, but it's say easy. 咁佢個 easy 其實係緊咩意思係 easy 就 easy 過你啲 file processing 嗰啲嘢啦，佢個意思係可能係咁啦，相對於 file processing 佢係好啲嘅，但係佢亦都係有佢自己嘅 technicality， 即係有啲 technical level 嘅嘢咧要處理，即係啲技術嘅嘢佢哋要處理嘅。咁呢個層面嚟講，佢又變咗唔係咁容易啦。好啦 ，this is the page about you and database, alright? You can forget about this, alright? The most important things about this diagram is here. 用資料庫就係咩意思咧 ？Alright, if you are using file, you as the user in file processing 係點咧 ？You as the user is handling the file directly like that. File processing 咧，你就直接處理個 file 噶嘛，中間有乜鬼嘢？有中間嘢冇中間嘢，你直接用嗰個講話一撳就開啦，一撳交叉就刪咗啦，係咪啊？冇任何疑惑嘅。Database 咧 ，database 多咗中間呢嚿啦。There is a middle person standing between you and the data. That's important because it will kind of get you some rule to safeguard the data, so that the data will have some shielding here. You can safeguard the data so that it will always be right when you import anything to it, right? So remember this relationship, right? 呢個 relationship 記得。How can I remember that relationship? It's very similar to if you use iPhone, right? iPhone, you cannot basically touch the data inside unless you use iTunes, right? iTunes is like iTunes is a database stand before you and your iPhone, all right? So whenever you have to change anything in the iPhone, you have to make use of iTunes to help you. iTunes is just like your agent, all right? 咁好似 iPhone 咁啦嚇，如果用開佢咧，你要正常咁使用佢咧，你要通過 iTunes 去做。咁你話我唔正常咁，雖然我得唔得係得㗎，你 jailbreak 咗佢得咯。但係我唔係講緊 jailbreak 嘅情況，係講緊你喺正確嘅使用或者即係日常嘅使用咧，佢係有一個中介嘅，呢個都係一樣。OK， 好啦，咁我哋咧嗱，記住呢個圖，呢個圖有時會問你嘅，或者考試啊，咁可能你畫翻出嚟，所以你要識啦。Now, a very brief introduction, a reminder for you about data. Remember, we have 3 ways to look at data. The first way is internal, external. The second way is time. The third way is aggregator, disaggregator. Remember that? This is actually a reminder for you that, okay, we have internal, external data here. By internal, we always say is within organization. By external, we basically mean this is actually around the company and from different sources, competitors, economic data, government, things like that, right? And because external data can be quite huge, that normally we cannot use database to store them all up, and we have to use an even bigger database to store them all up. That would be data warehouse concept here, due to the different formats, sources, things like that. 呢個咧就係延續咗第一課講嘅嘢啦。第一課咧就話啲 data 有3個角度去分類佢嘅嚇，就係佢係 internal、external 啦，佢嘅時間啦係新定舊啦，同埋咩啊？同埋佢究竟係散齊輯啊，定係佢係結集嘅？我哋話 design aggregator、disaggregator 係咪有3個角度？咁呢度講緊 internal、external 嗰種嘅分法。通常嘅 internal、external 嘅分法就係透過公司去分啦 ，organisation 去分啦，係咪啊？咁啊，如果喺間公司內部嘅，我哋就話佢係 internal 啦。如果公司外面嚟入嘅，譬如佢個公司喺個市場入邊其他嘅持份者嘅叫 stakeholder 啊，例如佢嘅競爭者啦、政府啦，或者係其他類似嘅團體啦，都係嗰個客戶啦等等啦嚇。咁我哋咧就叫做 external data， 因為佢嘅形態好多咧，咁通常正常嘅 database 係儲唔晒嘅，所以咧而家我哋要用大型嘅資料倉 data warehouse 資料倉。先可以裝得晒嘅，而資料倉用咗之後咧，咁我哋就可以做咧大家而家呢個世界成日都講嘅大數據分析啦 ，big data analytics basically based on you establish a data warehouse。OK， 好啦，咁點樣設計一隻 database 咧 ？How can we design one? Design means how to, alright? Design 呢個字咧就係 how to 嘅意思，怎樣做，怎麼做，點做㗎？呢個 database 點做咧就即係做法啦。譬如你要煮餸，喂呢個餸點樣煮㗎？你咪講個製法啦，有個食譜俾佢咧，佢都係一樣啊。咁製造一隻 database 咧係有2個層次嘅。We have 2 ways to say about how to do a database, how to make a database. The first way is when you make a database, what kind of software, hardware you need, that's at the physical level. Alright? Just like if you're cooking, alright, what kind of bowl, what kind of heat, what kind of oven I have to order in the kitchen, right? 即係你要煮餸咁，你都要有啲爐具啦嚇，咁你整 database 都係有啲即係器材㗎嘛。究竟你用咩機啊，咩 storage medium 啊，即係同埋用咩電腦去整啊？呢啲咪講緊呢啲嘢啦嚇 ，physical 就呢啲啦，即係睇得到嘅。Now, but when you're doing the cooking, you have more than something that you can really cook something good. It is your skill, your knowledge about how to cook something, right? That's the recipe. The recipe is the logical view. 咁煮餸都係啦，你唔係淨係有啲爐具，你係煮到好菜式㗎嘛？咁你仲要知道點煮㗎嘛？知道點煮嗰樣嘢，咪嗰個菜譜啦，即係嗰個叫做食譜啦，係咪？咁喺 database 嘅角度咧，就叫 logical view 啦。即係你怎樣將資料分類的 ，right? How can you organize data there? Okay, how can you organize data? You will have to say how to organize them, how to put them in a structure, and how to take them out. Right? That's something you have to say. Now, we have many ways to get data in and out of database. In the world, we have actually many different types of database. If you want to probe into that, if you take a look at the textbook, that actually got a lot. There, you have to adopt one way to do this. Right? This is data model. 咁怎樣將啲資料砌到一個位，你可以攞出嚟又真係好容易嘅咧？咁咧你要用一啲做法嘅。呢啲做法咧就叫 data model。呢個世界上有好多 data model，OK？ 咁所以 data model 係咩咧 ？data model 咧就話俾你知，一般嘅資料係點樣做出嚟啦，點樣擠出嚟代表佢啦，點樣組織佢，同埋點樣咧令佢咧成日都係啱嘅 ，right？ You have to have some ways to define. Now you have something about the concept, right? To define how to create something, represent it, organize it, and maintain it. Well, so data model in a certain way is just like religion in today's world. Okay? Now your aim of living is you want to have a happy life. Okay? One of the ways for you to lead a happy life is you have a very special perspective of the world. So no matter what situation you're in, you will be happy. So you get yourself a religion A, B, C, or D. So that religion is the data model。我哋呢個世界一樣啦，你想好開心咁樣咧，就係、生活你嘅，即係過你嘅日子。咁最好其中一個好嘅方法，你就揾一個宗教啦。咁呢個宗教就係一個 data model 嚟㗎啦嚇。咁有好多個唔同嘅宗教，咁你就揾一個嚟信。咁所以唔同所有嘅宗教雖然好多唔同啦，但係都會有啲相類似嘅做法㗎嘛令到你感覺到好良好啊，好神聖啊，跟住好自在咁樣嘅。咁 data model 都係一樣，right? No matter what model it is, they would have some structure, they would have some workings, operation, they would have some rules. Alright? 所以咧，每一個 data model 咧都係有自己本身嘅點樣砌嘢嘅方法，砌埋啲資料，點樣操作呢啲資料嘅手法，同埋咧點樣維係入邊嗰啲關係嘅做法，嗰啲規則你有啲規則嘅喎。呢世界好多 data model we have a lot of data models in the world, okay? But you don't have to learn them all. You learn this one only, relational model. If you take a look at the textbook, we have quite a few there, okay? But we just need you to know relational model because this is the model start in 1980 but still be very popular and still heavily in use up till today, right? 咁雖然有好多 model 啦。但係咧呢隻 model 咧係由1980年咧到而家咧都繼續係好多人繼續用緊嘅，即係等於一個好大嘅宗教咯，個個都信嗰個咯，即係有 A、B、C、D、E 宗教，佢個個都信 A 呢個宗教，即係好多信眾，所以我哋淨係識呢個就算啦，其他嗰啲我哋唔理佢啦。So what is relation? Relation is a mathematical term, means table. 數學咧好麻煩嘅，數學又係有自己嘅字㗎。你日常生活見到嘅嘢咧，佢咧都會有照用一個字代表啊。你日常生活見到個表，咪叫一個表格咯。數學就會叫一個表格做咩咧？叫一個表格做 relation。日常生活你見到一棟嘢咧，數學咧就叫佢做咧，就叫佢做一個 views。OK？ 日常生活咧你見到一橫嘢咧，數學就叫佢做咩咧？叫佢做 tuples。佢會用啲字咧嚟到去套咗佢，但係其實佢講緊同一樣嘢，不過咧係要咁。所以咧你去明白呢嚿嘢嗰陣時咧，你首先咧就要知道佢係咩東東嚟嘅。relational model 即係咩？即係 table model。我用 table 嘅方法儲起啲嘢 ，simply put, right? We use a table way to save something down. So it's a 2D table with rows and columns. The row is the tuple, the column is the fields, right? That's why you always heard me saying columns and fields, right? We use it interchangeably. Alright. Now, of course, the mathematician will disagree, and then will say, okay, that has some difference with the real sense, but we don't actually go into that kind of I would say, unnecessary discussion on that. 有啲數學嗰啲人咧，佢會仲會講個譬如 column， 你用 column 嘅講法同埋用 field 嘅講法，有啲數學上面定義嘅唔同嘅。不過我哋唔好斟酌嗰啲，因為嗰啲其實比較轉牛角尖嘅。Okay. Now, the records is always what we say the rows here. For the columns, right, we call it fields. Fields is always the attributes of something, right? In mathematics, they also like to use the word attributes to represent columns. So in math, it actually is kind of makes things complicated. 數學咧就好麻煩㗎，佢同一個 column 咧，佢有時咧就中意用 fields 嚟到代表佢，有時咧就中意叫做咧特徵 attributes 係特徵，你就話呢樣嘢咧就係 fields 喎。所以咧喺數學入邊咧有兩個字咧都代表 column 嘅 attributes or fields the same thing。OK， 好啦，咁如果用 table model，if you're using table model，how do you make your columns? The concept of making a column is you set up the columns in a very integrated way, very organized way, just like a dictionary. That's why we have data dictionary. The data dictionary is something that we experienced already in Lab 1. When you click Design Table, that field, data type, and field properties is actually data dictionary. 嗱 ，data dictionary 咧係一個概念嚟嘅，唔好狂傾偈，我傾過我都聽到你講嘢，唔想 repeat 你嘅講嘢。OK， 就係data dictionary 咧就係一個字典嚟定義翻究竟要做乜。咁個字典係咩？字典係 list out 啲嘢出嚟噶嘛，即係列啲嘢出嚟，咁你就好容易揾到嘛。所以咧，你見到我哋喺Lab 1度咧，如果我哋撳 table design 嗰陣時咧，我哋 list out 晒有咩 columns， 佢係咩 data type， 佢係咩資料特質嘅，佢嘅 field property 嘅欄位屬性係怎樣的，係咪啊？就好似 dictionary 咁啊，嗰個原來就係 data dictionary 嘅，所以呢個係一個概念嚟喎。嗱呢個概念咧用喺 Access 度，用喺其他唔同嘅 database 佢哋都有咁樣，即係用一個綜合嘅地方去到統籌佢啲 columns 點樣放。Right? And that's why there you will talk about the field name. Remember this one, data type. And last lesson, that means Monday, we also said this one, right? Validation rule. You can add some shielding to it as well. Those are the rules, right? 所以你見到啲 dictionary 咁做好多嘢啦嚇，好似喺除咗我哋喺第一堂嘅 Lab 1嗰度做咗啲 field name data 之外咧，我哋仲搞過咩啊？我哋又搞過 validation rule， 我哋即係令到佢唔好入錯嘢嘛，又整 index 啦，係咪啊？仲整埋個 IMEMO 係咪啊？呢啲咧都係喺 data dictionary 入邊咧一次過會做晒嘅。Right? Once you set up all those things in a database with a dictionary concept here, you'll be able to easily manipulate the structure of database with ease. 點解你要搞呢個字典嘅概念喺個 database 入邊咧？因為咧你想整一個中央嘅地方控制成個資料庫嘅結構，變咗你好容易可以改變個資料庫咧，就透過咧改變呢個字典嘅結構。OK， 所以我哋咧有咁嘅做法嘅。So that's why this is actually to store the definition of every table. 呢個 table definition 係咩 ？definition 即係佢係咩？它是什麼東西啊 ？What it is? Definition is actually talking about that. That's why we say this is 定義啊，定義即係佢係咩東東。佢有幾多個 column 嗰啲咪佢做乜嘢佢咪被定義咯。咁呢個地方就係俾你咧講清楚佢係做什麼的。When data dictionary, alright, goes later into a particular database, how does it look like? You can flip the pages forward. You see this. 如果咧呢個 data dictionary 嘅概念咧變成一個 database。變成一個 database 嘅做法咧，佢就係第16版呢版嘢。所以第16版係做咩嘢咧？第16版係執行頭先你嗰版嘅嘢。Right? You can link these two pages here. One is the concept. One is the idea. The other one is the real working. 嗱，頭先嗰版嘢咧，頭先嗰版係第幾版嚟㗎？有冇人記得？唔記得咗添。Sorry， 11係啦，11版咧係個 idea 嚟嘅。So this is the idea. 我話緊支燈，不過話得唔好，好似個蘑菇咁，一個燈啊 ，OK，my drawing is real bad. Anyway， 呢個就真係 working 啦 ，it's the real working。咁真實落咗嚟個 database 會變咗點咧？佢會有啲 file structure 做咗出嚟，佢會有啲檔案結構做咗出嚟嘅。譬如頭先我哋講緊咩啊 ？file, table, columns, records, right？And that's why you have add fields, deleting fields, field size, field type。所以咧，你又會見到好多字咧，同 data dictionary 嘅好似㗎。而你喺真實嘅 database 係會見到佢嘅喎。咁我哋叫呢啲咧就係 data definition。This is the data definition part in the database engine. Alright? No matter that's an Access database, Oracle database, alright? Science-based, alright? Maybe you heard of Oracle if you buy stock。甲骨文咧係一個好有名嘅 database 嚟噶嘛，所以佢喺納斯達克都有個股票叫甲骨文噶嘛，就係嗰個 database， 係嗰 database 嚟噶，好勁嘅。喺電腦入邊咧，如果你得閒無聊咧，打開個電腦入邊啲檔案睇咧，我哋都會見到好多叫 DDL 嘅嘢㗎。DDL 檔案 ，DDL 檔案喺個視窗上系統入邊咧，其實就係呢啲 data definition 嘅 file 嚟㗎，所以咧。我哋嘅視窗作業系統其實所有嘅作業系統，例如視窗啦、iOS 啦、Android 啦，全部都係 database 嚟嘅。That's why the database hate database。database 係好憎自己嘅。佢 database 嘅特色係咩啊 ？Once I set up database view, I already told you, database have a habit of eat up a lot of hard disk。database 特性咧就好中意食 hard disk 嘅。咁即係話佢見到同一個人又中意食 hard disk 咧，就係佢嘅死敵嚟嘅。佢一定唔放過佢。佢一定會諗用方法冧咗佢。咁所以你見到我哋一 download 個 database 落嗰個 desktop 我哋第一件事做咩㗎 ？We have to unblock it and then we have to enable security warning。Operating system 咧 Windows 咧做咗兩樣嘅方法，禁止你 download 嘅 database 食佢啲位喎。 第一就係唔準佢喐，第二就係再整多層保安機制令到佢唔可以喐，知唔知？因為佢哋大家都係爭緊同一個 market， 就係嗰個 hard disk 嘅位置。OK， 所以你會見到啦嚇，原來我哋咧每日都會預見到好多 DD 嘅嘢 data definition， 因為我哋本身嘅系統，甚至乎你知 iOS 都係一個都有好大量嘅 DD 嘅嘢入邊喎，因為佢都係一個 database 嚟嘅。Okay, let's return here. In the data definition part here, we also have the concept of PK, remember? And FK. FK is foreign key. 我哋咧又有一個咧概念喺度喎，叫做咧 primary key 同埋 foreign key FK 啦。OK。PK 係咩啦？嗱 ，PK 咧要考你啦，今次真係，如果你唔識咧，就真係可能 primary key 咗啦。OK， 咁 primary key 咧，其實咧就係、我哋嗰陣時喺第一堂啊 Lab 1 what do we call them? We call them the eye of the table。其實係呢個 table 嘅眼睛嚟嘅，因為咧你儲咗乜嘢落個電腦度咧，佢都揾唔到俾你㗎。咁你要咧同佢編碼，咁嗰個編碼咧就係、我哋叫 primary key 啦，所以就 unique identifier。Unique identifier means unique name。喺數學入邊咧 ，name 呢樣嘢咧，數學邊叫做咩？叫做 identifier， 叫識別體啊。好麻煩嘅嚇。其實即係 name， 即係俾個名佢，獨立嘅名、獨特嘅名，冇人同你一樣嘅，咁你就可以認到啲嘢嘛。Alright，they use a unique name to see which one is which。Alright， 咁咧亦都咧有一個 foreign key 嘅概念 FK。Foreign key 係咩咧 ？Foreign key 咧呢度解釋得好深㗎嚇。This is a very difficult definition， 但係好簡單，你琴日都見到啦。What is foreign key? Foreign key is common columns. Why do we have to have foreign key? Because we want one table linked with the other so that you can make more information out. Take a look at this, you're going to find out. 我哋睇下呢個就會知啦。If you take a look at 15 here, what is the common column? Table 1 咧 Table 3.5, I should say, is customer table. Table 3.4 is customer table. Table 3.5 is invoice table. Both of them have the common column customer. So if I want to know more about customer from different places and how they buy something, I join them together. If I do not have a common column, no way that I can join them, right? 你見到啦，表一咧就係、客戶嘅資訊，表二咧就係、訂單嘅資訊。咁兩個表咧都有一個共同一樣嘅 column 叫 customer 客戶喎。所以如果我將 3.4 同埋 3.5 合併咧，我就只要對翻啲 customer 啦，就會得到下面呢個 table。呢個 table 咧就係、新嘅資訊咧，就會話俾你知道咧，就係、客戶由唔同嘅地方佢嘅消費力係會係點㗎？知唔知啊？ Now this is what we call the extra information. Now this is something that database can do, while flat file cannot. 呢啲咧就 database 可以做啦，佢即刻可以幫你答到一個問題啊，跟住你發覺咧原來咩事啊？譬如呢度你睇到咩事幹啊 ？Broadway 咧係最少人買嘢㗎。咁如果你係做生意咁點啊？如果你 advertise more on Broadway， 跟住你發覺咩啊 ？Madison 最啲人買嘢買得好豪氣嘅。So if you want to strengthen Madison, what would you do? You would set up a VIP system so more purchases can be incurred. 即係如果你做生意咪見到原來 Broadway 要做多啲宣傳 ，Madison 咧就要做一啲咧 customer service 做啲 VIP 系統，令到啲人再買多啲。Okay? If you don't combine, you don't know. Just take a look at the invoice as a separate. But if you combine them, you know it right away. That's why we use database. Remember that. All right? So this is the FK here. The FK is the primary column. It's the linking, it's the relationship, right? It's the common column, correct? The FK is the common column. So if you define it, it's actually the primary key of one table appear in another. If you take a look at that, you're going to find out. 我哋話咧外索引啊 ，foreign key 叫外索引咧。外索引其實係咩嚟嘅咧？ 其實係簡單啲講就係 common column 啦，即係大家共有嘅 table，共有嘅 column， 共有嘅直動。但係如果你技術啲嚟講係咩咧？譬如 customer table 咧，佢嘅 PK 係咩啊 ？customer table 嘅 PK 梗係 customer 啦。OK， 咁呢個 PK 咧就放咗喺另一個 table 入邊，因為呢個 PK 放咗喺度，所以咧我哋就叫佢做 foreign key。所以 foreign key 嘅定義咧好數學化㗎，就係對方嘅 table 嘅 PK 放咗喺自己度 ，alright， 即係你放咗人哋個 PK 入嚟你度，咁你就係有咗個 foreign key 啦，你就有個外索人啦。嗱，咁啊呢個解釋係好複雜㗎，所以我就唔建議你即係記得太多啦。如果你真係好簡單咁記咧，就係首先你要記得 this is common column。如果佢真係要答技術啲嚟講咧 ，is the PK in another table，right？ 咁你做咁大件事嘅目的係咩咧 ？This is the goal。目的係咩啊 ？The goal is to set up relationship， 令到呢兩個 table 做咗好朋友。咁佢做咗好朋友就可以黐埋一齊，咁你就見到多啲事件嘅即係深啲嘅現象。OK，and that's why, right? We do it that way. Now, normalization is also something that we define in making a database. This is also common for whatever database is in the world. The normalization basically means this one. Normalization 咧，我哋咧其實冇解釋嘅，不過我可以解釋佢呢個唔會考嘅。Normalization means one-three-one table， 即係話咧一個 table 咧都係一個主題嘅啫。If the table is about student, it's about student. Okay, student say parents, right? They will not be having in the same table. 咁咧每一個 table 咧即係一個主題。如果佢係學生 table 咧就學生 table。譬如學生可能同家長啊或者動物有關，可能學生養咗隻動物啦，嗰啲咧就唔包埋一邊嘅。即係唔會另外一個，我要分另外一個表槽嘅，即係每個 table 都係一個主題咧。呢種情況叫 normalization。不過我哋咧就唔使考嘅。我哋要知道 normalization 我嚟做乜事要做呢件事先。Why do we have to normalize something? Because we want to have database run with a higher speed. That's why we normalize them. So, and the second reason, this is reason number one. Reason number two is because we want data repeat less, eliminate redundant, or that's why we use it. 咁我咧就唔想講得太深 normalization 俾你知道，因為咧呢個係一個比較深啲嘅 database 設計層面，一定要讀差唔多一個30個鐘，另外30個鐘嘅設計課程嘅 database design 你先會識嘅其實。咁所以咧我哋淨係知道佢有兩個目的就夠啦喺商業入邊，即係以後人哋你揾個人幫你做 database。咁你話你唔該 normalize， 如果你覺得個 database 好慢咧，你就可以同佢提出要求啦。佢係一個技術嘅人，唔該你 normalize 曬你個 database 啊，佢好慢喎。咁佢就會同你做兩樣嘢啦，就會咧將啲 table set 翻做一個 theme one table 咁樣啦。OK， 亦都會令到啲 data 咧冇咁容易錯嘅。Alright， redundancy， so it's actually increase data resistance, the consistency. Alright， Now this is the concept one. So the first concept we have right now is 11 and 12. They are about setting up database concept. 所以咧11、12版咧其實咧就係點樣製造 database 嘅概念嚟嘅。18版咧就係做出嚟嘅動作啦。好啦，咁除咗整好咗個 database 之外咧，咁跟住就係點樣拎啲嘢出嚟啦。How to get something in and out. Get something in and out is actually something you did already in the class. That is questioning a database. Remember? Query. 咁第二部分你就當你擺好咗啲嘢咧，就要問個 database 啦。即係我哋啱啱上星期一嘅詢問啦。咁點樣問嘢咧？咁又有一堆概念嘅喎，咁先至有落實嘅喎。咁我哋唞一陣先，我翻嚟再講。Alright, so we